Hey guys, it's Shelly. I hope you all are doing well. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from videos that I typically would make. I actually was going back and forth like in my mind a whole bunch if I wanted to even make this video or not. But at the end of the day, I just thought it would be helpful for a lot of people in general out there. I had also gotten some feedback in a previous video that I posted related to changing jobs during the pandemic. And I will link that video up here in the cards and down in the description box in case you guys want to check that video out. But just to summarize that video, I did talk about changing jobs during the pandemic and how that was like for me. Some of the things that crossed my mind as I was going through the process and really thinking about it. I also got some feedback on Instagram through comments and DMs. It sounds like some of you guys out there are interested in hearing more about like my career experiences and things like that based on messages like DMs and stuff that I got on Instagram. That's really the reason why I am here today. So before we get started, I just wanted to put this out there and just say that this is more so coming from a place where I'm just like your friend here on YouTube that happens to make videos, and this just seemed to be a topic that people wanted to get my insight on. So I am, not a professional. I just want to be clear that I can't promise you that you'll get a new job based on any of the tips that I mentioned in this video, because there's just like so many other elements and things that neither you or I would know. For example, who else is applying for a job and what their qualifications are and what they're going to be talking about in their interview. But this is more so a video, and hopefully some of the things that I'm sharing based on my experience will help you to prepare for an interview and feel more comfortable and confident before going into the actual interview. I've had quite a few jobs over the time that I've been working, which actually has been like 18 years now. I thought back and counted the number of different companies that I had worked for during that time, and it comes out to like about 10. So obviously my experience ranges from that high school job, like the jobs that I had in college, part-time stuff, all the way up until like after I've graduated and I'm looking for a full-time job. These interviews were all very different for me because I had different experiences that happened to me along the way. I think that, back when I was in high school and college working, like the expectations of those interviews were very different from interviews that I've gone through more recently after I've gained a lot of experience in a particular field. So really in this video, I just kind of wanted to talk you through some of the things that I do to prepare in hopes that I will help you. And this was actually something that was suggested to me or like brought up because someone I knew that I was preparing to kind of move on to that next step, and they wanted to help give me that best chance. So I would say that, based on this advice, it has helped me. I have gotten new jobs, worked for different companies and things like that, basically following this. And that's the reason why I wanted to kind of break it down a little bit more, because the tip that I was given was a bit more general and just kind of really break down the steps that I go through in preparing, because that's what I really think at the end of the day will help. So if you are looking to get a new job this year, or if you're watching this video sometime far in the future, and maybe you're just looking to like switch careers, or maybe you haven't been working for a while and you're getting back in to looking for work, I hope that this video will help you guys out there. So to be really honest with you guys, going through this process is a little bit of work. I know that, we all wish that things came as easy as possible, but definitely when you're looking for a job and it's something that you really, really want, maybe it's a step up from what you are currently doing, you just got to put in the work. That's, at the end of the day, that's how you're going to get the best results. And you want to go into any interview the most prepared as possible if you really, really want that job. So the first thing that I do, and for me personally, I feel like this is the hardest part of the entire process, but I get out a notebook, like a fairly big one, around the size of like a regular like 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. And I just kind of like brainstorm everything out. And I know it depends if you're someone who prefers to write things down, or if you're someone who would rather just type everything out on the computer. So whichever way works for you, go ahead and do that. For me personally, maybe I'm a little bit old school, I don't know, but this process worked the best for me when I was actually writing it down on paper. So I got a notebook and I just started to like brainstorm, and I thought of like around 3 different stories that highlight like the main biggest things that I've worked on or the things that I was most proud of. Your stories here will vary just depending on that. So, you know, at the end of the day, don't compare yourself to anybody else. These are your stories and what you're gonna be talking about in your interview. So just for a few examples to maybe like jog your memory and get those like wheels turning in your mind. So I just wanna share with you a few experiences that I've had personally with some of the stories that I've basically written out for, you know, this very reason. So the first one, you know, this is when I was really having a hard time. Like I was struggling to figure out how to word this, but what I had heard and like read and Googled online about updating your resume and like talking about things in interviews was kind of like putting numbers to things that you've done. And I didn't really quite understand this because I didn't really associate things that I was working on to numbers. But it definitely helps when you're switching like industries and things like that, which was the case for me. It helps for the industry you want to move into to have an easier way to understand what you were doing. So perhaps that might be, you know, you want to really show that you're a hard worker, you can multitask, you can handle like numerous projects at the same time, you know, meet the needs of a variety of different like customers or clients and things like that. And maybe your traditional customer will be a different individual going into this new industry. So for me, it was kind of like saying how many clients I worked on at a particular time, what kind of projects were I working on with these clients? What were those timelines like? Did they overlap at any point? And that kind of translates to like project management, being able to communicate with a variety of different individuals for the different projects that you're working on, but also giving that image of, you know, being able to balance and juggle and like split your time between working on all of these different things that need your attention. Also kind of showing like your ability to follow up and stay on track with things. So that's just, you know, my first example of a story that maybe could be built out and another way of thinking of how to explain this to somebody. So the second example that I want to talk about is I had participated in rolling out this program company-wide, and the program didn't really have any budget. It was just kind of like me being able to like pull resources, build relationships, or like strengthen my relationships with vendors that I was already in touch with so that I could ask them to, you know, help and see what they might be able to contribute because I didn't have any funds. Like, do they have any free programs that I could just like package and offer up to others? Like perhaps they had some free programs or resources online that would be readily available to anyone. And those were things that I asked about to help kind of build rapport. And I felt like some of these vendors that I talked to, you know, appreciate that I was reaching out and trying to like build this rapport to them, but they're also happy to share that information because that's their information and it has their logo and all their branding and all that stuff. So whoever sees that knows where it's coming from, and they look back to the vendor also as a reputable source and look at me as a reputable person because I'm giving them information from a good source. So that is, you know, basically an example of another scenario that I like to talk about because, you know, it does show like resourcefulness, just kind of like that can-do attitude, being able to build something from scratch even though you may not have a lot of experience or knowledge about the topic to begin with, showing that you're able to like communicate, ask for help, and kind of like get those resources to come to you. And saying that it was like on no budget, I mean, I feel like all companies out there are looking to save money in some kind of way, shape, or form. So being able to tell them a story where you did something like that, rather than saying like, oh, you know, I planned like these like lavish events that cost like thousands and thousands of dollars. Like there are definitely jobs out there that, you know, need that and do that. I have not had a job that, you know, had extreme budgets or anything like that. So I think, you know, for companies, and, you know, you may not know the company's situation going into an interview, but they may be, you know, looking to cut costs, especially nowadays. And so having a story like that and just kind of showing resourcefulness, I think can be a really great example as well if you're trying to display like proactiveness, resourcefulness, and things like that. So I will honestly say that I'm also a person who's not comfortable with talking about themselves, which is weird because I have a YouTube channel and I just talk about all my own things on here all day long. Maybe this is a practice for me in like real life scenarios, but I don't like to talk about things that I've done, things that I've done well or anything like that. But at the end of the day, you're the one going into the interview and nobody else is going to talk about these things for you. You can't bring a friend, you know, a good friend, or a good old coworker, colleague, college classmate who knows how well you work. You can't bring them into the interview with you to talk on your behalf. You have to be the one who says it yourself. So, you know, that's also something that I had to like kind of get over, and it's probably coming across in this video. Like, you know, I'm comfortable with talking about myself, but like all those things that I mentioned, I'm editing this stuff out, but you know, I stopped and I was like, what am I saying? Because it's just uncomfortable. It's just like an uncomfortable thing for me to do. I don't like to, you know, boast. Maybe it's like my culture or like how I grew up, like, you know, be humble, don't talk about yourself too much and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, between takes, I'm editing all of these like faces I'm making and like comments that I'm making to myself as I'm recording. But at the end of the day, just like how I'm saying, like nobody else can go into that interview and be confident for you. And at least if you have some kind of script or like these scenarios or examples ready to go, like in your back pocket to pull out, I feel like that helps you feel a lot more ready. And you also don't have to make it sound like I did this, I did that. And if you're someone like me and you're not comfortable with talking about yourself a lot, I think that there are different ways to say that you did something. And so finding what is most comfortable for you, like for me, these scenarios and these examples work the best for me because it actually was a project that was happening. I did have to work with a variety of different people to get something done. There was a lot of communication going on. I did have to keep track of where we were moving along. So I think explaining these examples and scenarios helps the interviewer to see that you are like competent, organized, you know, someone who takes initiative, a go-getter, without actually saying like, I'm a go-getter. So yes, that was actually just a brainstorming piece that I was talking about there. I guess I kind of talked through sort of like a combination of steps right there. That's really what was going through my mind as I was brainstorming, just really writing everything down and thinking about things that like made a difference, were particularly difficult, took me a lot of time, but maybe it's something that I made faster for myself. And thinking through like these different responsibilities and things that I had, maybe I took the initiative and like volunteered to do something that had a good outcome. That's something that I would, you know, brainstorm and write down as well. But after I get all of that down on paper, I look through it again and I get a highlighter and I highlight the main points that I either want to talk about or something that will jog my memory to then go on and continue telling this story. So that's basically what I do to get prepared. And once I've written down all of my brainstorm notes, highlight those main points, I actually kind of write it out in a script for myself. And this is only to practice. So I don't take my script into the interview with me. At the end of the day, you want to go in looking like you know what you're talking about because it is your own experiences that you're sharing with the interviewer. But I write out a script because it just helps me rehearse in my mind, or you know, if you want to do it out loud and think of those talking points like it's a real conversation. So that's something else I do as well. I imagine, like I pretend like I'm there in the interview, like what am I going to say, how might this conversation go, because I feel like a lot of times the reason why we don't feel prepared going into an interview is because we're like, what are they even going to ask me, how do I even know how to prepare? But I found that once I have thought of these like 3 scenarios to talk about, it comes naturally. When they ask you that question, you're like, oh yeah, there's that thing I worked on and whatever. I'm just gonna start talking about that and tell them the whole story. Say like, oh yeah, you know, I worked on this thing. It's related to X, Y, and Z, but here's the whole picture about what that looked like and here's what the outcome is. I think a lot of times interviewers wanna know what the outcome was at the end, or if there was a problem, how did you solve it? Or if there was like a conflict, how was that resolved? You know, they want to know these things. I also think it's okay if you tell them, I haven't actually done that before, but you know, if I were to, this is how I would like to approach it. I think answering questions like that is okay too. But yeah, I feel like I have talked about this topic quite a bit. I hope it's something that you guys are interested in. If you have any other questions that are like career related and you just want to hear like my experience with it, or if I have any tips, what I've learned, that kind of stuff, please let me know down in the comments below. And if I have anything to say or comment on with any of those items, then I will definitely make a video where I talk about those things as well. In the feedback that I've been receiving, you know, requesting that I talk more about career stuff. There wasn't anything in particular, but at the end of the day, my channel is here to put out information that helps any of you guys out there. So I just want to be helpful. All right, you guys, well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you are looking for a new job, making a career change, and you know, just getting your application out there, I hope that this video helps you prepare for that upcoming interview. If you've enjoyed watching this video or found any of my tips or sharing of my experiences helpful to you, please like this video and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Again, if any of you out there are looking for more like career related stuff, or want me to just talk about my experiences, let me know down in the comments below. You can also follow me on Instagram, which I will leave my Instagram handle in the description box. All right, you guys, thanks again so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.